Hello, and welcome to another edition of Podcast for the Future. I'm your host, Tim Christman. We're joined today by Michael Gibbs, the CEO of Go Cloud Careers, a global organization that provides training for elite cloud computing careers. Go Cloud Architects and Careers is focused on helping individuals achieve their dream technology career. Michael is a technology expert with over 25 years of experience in networking, cloud computing, and IT security. After a successful career with Cisco Systems, where he served as a senior leader in enterprise architecture as part of their global healthcare consulting practice, Michael founded Go Cloud Architects. Michael's a highly requested speaker and industry thought leader who presents at conferences throughout the world. He's an educator with 20 years of experience in coaching and mentoring others. It's exciting to be able to have somebody like Michael Gibbs on today, and let's get to it. All righty. Thank you for being here today, Michael. It's great to have you.
Tim, I am so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, gladly. So before we get too far into things, I want to hear what got you started into this tech world? You alluded to there's a good story here. And if there's one thing I like, it's a story.
Well, Tim, it's a unique way. It almost happened by accident. So realistically speaking, in my youth, the first job I applied for at 18 years old is I tried to enlist in the Marine Corps.
All right.
I'd been there. I'd been a competitive swimmer, a competitive runner. I had a 700-pound deadlift, and I'd been practicing martial arts for about 10 years. And I was all excited. I went to the
Did you say 700 pounds?
Yes, in high school.
All right.
Yeah. So I was training for this my whole life. I walked into the Marine Corps. The guy says, "You look big. Do you play ball?" I said, "I don't play ball, but I can fight." And he said, "We can make you fight better." And I said, "Hoorah, I'm in." And then I went and filled out some of the forms, and they were like, "You have asthma. I'm sorry." So what did I do next? No. I became a firefighter paramedic.
Okay,
and I did that to pay my way through school. I was with all veterans the whole time.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. Became a nurse.
Okay.
Now, while I was in school becoming a nurse, I realized that was not for me. I worked about 3 days as a nurse and said, "Oh, this is not me." Went back to working in doing the kind of transport nursing from hospital A to hospital B, became a nurse practitioner and had my own internal medicine office.
Oh, wow.
Which I liked. And here's the thing, I was practicing internal medicine. It was great.
Yeah.
I just loved tech. It was so crazy that I was buying $30,000 of tech back in around 1996, 1997. Routers, switches, I had a room that sounded like a jet engine. I just played with it all day.
And that was back when a router was several $1,000s.
It was, yeah. I was spending $30,000 a year on it because it was my passion. And my wife came to my room at 2 o'clock in the morning and she says, "Mike, dear, you've been playing with tech now for 6 hours. You could actually do this as a job." I was like, huh? And then it dawned on me, and it's like, I'm not going to go back to college again. So what I did is I called a local computer training school, paid like $5,000 for a boot camp. Nobody was interested in me.
Yeah.
Took 2 more certifications. Nobody cared. Spent $11,000 in a boot camp. Nobody cared. Did 2 more certifications. Nobody cared. And then I found a way to get hired. I called 50 recruiters all over the country and said, "What's your perfect network engineer?"
Yep.
I made a list. And then I said, "Okay, this is me. And this is what I'm hearing is perfect."
Yeah.
So I said, "If this is what I need to be, let me build my plan."
Yeah.
I built my mission plan and I went, okay, I'm going to do this first, this second, this third, and did that. Went on my first interview and wasn't hired as a network engineer like I planned. I was hired as a senior network engineer because the hiring manager says to me, "Oh my God, Mike, you're so good. You have 0 experience. You're already better than 2/3 of my team." 6 months later, I was the lead architect and I've been mentoring people for the last 20 years to get hired. And it was all based upon my initial research. Now, mind you, in the last 25 years,
Sure.
I've asked thousands of hiring managers, "What's your perfect hire?" And thousands of recruiters, because the key to getting hired, the key to winning anything is perfect planning and knowing. Know yourself, know your enemy. You'll never fear 1,000 battles. Know yourself and not your enemy. For every win, there's one loss. Know your enemy and not yourself. For every win, there's one loss. And like most people, unfortunately, they don't know themselves or their enemy, and they lose.
Yeah. No, and I think that idea of going to the people who are doing the hiring and being like, "Hey, who do you want? Who is it you would want? Not me right now. I'm not looking for a job. Doing a research project." I think that's fantastic. And now that's so much easier. You can Google that, but even though it's easier, You're one of two people I've ever talked to that has actually mentioned doing something like that. I think it's you saw how well that worked. And how long did it take to actually do the research, even with calling
For
50
me,
people?
from the time I decided to get hired to the time I was my first senior network engineer, was about 4 months. And I was actually the lead architect on that team. 6 months later, a job that they wanted 15 years experience for.
Yeah.
And right after that, I went to Wall Street. They wanted 15 years experience, got it. In fact, I've never been on a job interview for which I didn't get hired in my entire career. And the reason is I always know exactly what the hiring manager wanted because I've asked thousands over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
why my students do so well too, because they know exactly what the hiring managers want and need, and they become that. They don't fake it, they become that.
no, and I think you mentioned Sun Tzu there. I think that's a perfect example of the sorts of wisdom that a lot of people overlook when
Exactly.
they're thinking, okay, I want to be a network engineer. Let me look at 2 Google sites about what does a network engineer do? And then they're like, okay, I'm done. Why does nobody want to hire me? It's weird.
And it's a lot worse than that. For some reason, people ask people that are not hired what to do to get hired. They have certification providers that have a vetted interest in selling them the certification. And then they get certification in 10 people's different careers. What they need to do is as follows. Ask somebody that's an expert in the career, someone that's made it, somebody with 20 years experience. That's actually why I came out of retirement to create this program. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
What happened is as ridiculous as this sounds, I was retired, enjoying myself.
Sure.
And I had opened a blockchain cryptocurrency mining data center in McPherson, Kansas with some friends because it had the cheapest electric we could deal with. And I went out there and because, electric was expensive.
Yeah.
In my house, I was dealing with $4,000 a month of electric and I wanted to expand. And it would have been $12,000 to $15,000 a month of electric that I needed. Plus I live in Florida, so it was getting too hot in the house from the heat. And the owner that I rented the warehouse from had seen I brought in all these interns that I trained, and they're like, Mike, your people are unbelievable. Could you train my kid? And I said, sure. So I said, I'll spend 2 to 4 hours with them every week. And I literally bought them the 3 best-selling cloud training courses because I thought there'd be some substance there.
Sure.
And I just tutor them on Friday. And after 3 days, he calls me back and says, I configured this thing. What is it? Well, I'm not joking. He asked what it was.
Wow.
And I watched these 3 courses, and they were basically people that knew nothing. They were in their home. They were making PowerPoint slides with audio. And what I heard was blah, 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 blah. And here's the reason. The people never did their job. They were teaching something they didn't understand, so they couldn't explain it simply enough. And what they were teaching was 100% irrelevant. So I said, let me interview 1,000 people that have done this and see if I can hire any. I couldn't hire any. So that's why I came out of retirement to create the programs we did. And that's why our students now get hired every day.
That's incredible. First off, now this is at least the second example of you saying, hey, I need data, and getting way more than a representative sample, which is impressive. That's a lot of people to serve. Yeah, that's impressive. So you called in the 90s, but and sorry for the tangent, but how do you do that data collection? I'm fascinated by how this
works. For me, it was pretty easy because I was doing architecture work.
Okay.
Architecture work is design, present, and sell. So realistically speaking, I'd go meet with a client about $1 billion opportunity.
Sure.
I'd come back to my team and somebody had to design it. Now, there's no Rambos out there.
Yeah.
Everything is a team or a platoon. So I'd go back to my company and I'd have to go reach out to 3 executive vice presidents, 3 senior vice presidents, 50 directors and say, I need your people for this amount of time.
Yep.
So while I do that, I'd be, hey, what's your perfect hire? Hey, what's your perfect? But I'd go to the customer side.
Yeah.
And when I go to the customer side, because I was consulting, I'd again each week run into multiple customers and ask them what they want.
Yeah.
So it was about ask. But the recruiter people, they used to reach out to me because I had a good LinkedIn profile or resume. I'd get 10 to 15 to 20 interview requests per day.
Wow.
It was pretty easy. It was like bait on the fishing hook. They were just And then I'd say, hey, by the way, what do you really need? What are you hearing from these employers? Plus, CIO magazine is also relatively good. And I have routine executive conversations with business leaders to find out what are your business problems right now.
Yeah.
What do you need to do? And that's what happens with experience. There's 2 ways to build your career. You can focus it on just skills, or you could say skills are half of the career, but emotional intelligence, executive presence, communication skills, business acumen, CXO relevancy, leadership. And that's where I've enhanced my skills.
Yeah.
And that enables me to better ask questions. But then again, I come from medicine, and I'm used to asking people some very uncomfortable questions.
Well, and I'm sure from that being your earliest experience, you're like, I can never ask a worse question than what I've already asked.
I don't know. The questions I've had to ask to save lives are so ridiculous if you think about it, that there's
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to ask anything at this point.
Not. That's a great way to look at it, because entirely too many people try to avoid asking questions for whatever reason. But if there's a paramedic trying to save your life, you would prefer they ask a question.
Oh yeah.
Is that different than when you want to interview for a job? Why not ask questions ahead of time?
It's not any different.
Yeah.
In fact, I like to say that medicine is how I learned architecture. And here's the thing, I had a different tech career, and that's one of the reasons I found the GoCloud careers. My tech career vector was very different.
Yeah.
In less than 1 year, I had reached levels that people that didn't get to in 15 years did.
Yeah.
And there were a few reasons for that. See, what do most people do in their careers? Learn a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, and a little of this. Makes them a jack of all trades and a master of none, which means they're not good enough to do anything.
Right.
Now, in other worlds, we get it. If I've got a sniper, they don't train to be a breacher. They're training to come in and out, being stealthy, making their wind calls, knowing their ballistics, their ballistic coefficients, wind drop, etc. That's their world. They don't train for somebody else's job. Airline pilots don't decide to become paramedics because they think it's going to make them better flying a plane. But we have someone that wants to be an architect, which is a design, present, and sell job. And they're learning coding, they're learning maintenance, they're learning automation, artificial intelligence. Wait, great. Now you know everything else other than the job I need you to do. So by medicine, I actually learned really how to be an architect. What's medicine do? Somebody comes into the office, I ask them some questions about their chief complaint. I examine them, make a diagnosis and a plan. What's architecture? Mr. and Mrs. Customer, tell me about your business goals, your business pain points, your business challenges. Diagnose them, make an assessment, examine their systems, just like the doctor would with the stethoscope, but in this case, it's something different. Make a diagnosis and make a plan. Now, whether the plan's a prescription or an architecture, it's the same career. And at GoCloud Careers, we're constantly helping people transition careers. And in most cases, most of these careers are actually the same. It's just the distinct skill that you're doing. So part of transitioning careers, part of earning more, is showing them, look, these experiences that I have are relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work with a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
I've got a special program for veterans. Veterans have the ability to take direction.
Oh yeah, no.
And veterans don't crack under pressure.
It's true.
And veterans are mentally tough to execute through pain, through challenges. So they don't quit so easily.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I deal with veterans, and I deal with a lot of them, it's pretty easy to position them to the right kind of people. If you want someone that's strong, motivated, and won't quit until they win, hire a veteran.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of just pulling out the things that make people good. A week ago, I got a psychologist, her first cloud architect job. And when I met her the first time, I said, your emotional intelligence and communication skills are going to be your strength. So that's the thing you focus on. Well, she's got a great job.
No, I think the way you approach that of relating it to what somebody used to do or what other analogies that make sense, because all too often, as you said, when somebody goes into a job, they're like, this is what I do. I do this now. This is all I do for 10, 15, 20 years. But we're not working on a factory floor anymore. So it doesn't make sense. In fact, it's more useful for, as you said, the psychologist to go over and now do something here and apply that, because you're going to have far better results and a more innovative worker.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think the way of looking at it as a medical problem is fantastic, because that's something a lot of people can understand. Yeah. They may not be able to understand, or may think that there's some voodoo inside the computer that is the network architecture, but you explain it like a diagnosis and they're like, oh, okay, I can do that. That's not overwhelming.
And it's not. If we break it down into manageable pieces, and if the instruction is good, now as Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain it clearly, you don't know it enough. And I can tell you, I've taken certification courses that are blah, 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 because the person doesn't know it enough. But if you know it, teach it. And if you can teach it, and if you can rally the troops to keep going until they finish, then they become successful.
Yeah.
And that's often the hardest part with big things, is keeping people motivated and engaged.
It's true. It's true. And it's all too common for people who don't know to try to teach. It's painful to watch. It's also painful to do. There's been plenty of times I've given presentations or classes and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, this is uncomfortable for me as the teacher. I don't know what the students are going through. Yeah. You came out of retirement to start Go Cloud Careers.
Yeah.
What was the career between getting that first non-medical job and retirement?
Yeah, so my career was a little bit like a rocket ship
Yeah.
because I had the input, I had the guidance. So first thing I did is I worked as a senior engineer. Next thing I realized I was on Wall Street. I don't know how I was designing the system for the largest market maker. I had about 6 months experience. What happened from there was I actually got 2 really good job offers at the same time.
Yeah.
And I actually went to Comcast as a principal architect to design their backbone.
Oh.
And I found that I was there for about a month and I was not happy.
Yeah.
Not happy at all. So I had joined this wonderful company called Riverstone Networks. They were the old Cabletron, they're now Nokia. Wow, that was so much fun. It was a company that was dying financially, but they had some of the best technical professionals I ever met. I was there for 13 layoffs. At the end of the 13 layoffs, I never got laid off, but I decided to go to Cisco. And I went to Cisco as a sales engineer. And then I moved up into a more enterprise architect role. And then Cisco said, hey, we decided that healthcare technology is important to us. And I went, me, I contracted internal medicine and I've been designing systems. So I became the lead healthcare architect for all of Cisco.
Wow.
Now, I loved it. I traveled the world 200,000-300,000 miles a year traveling things. And unfortunately, I was involved in a very bad. I got invited to go train with some very special martial artists in Israel to study Krav Maga because they had a 20-year level of martial arts experience. I had shattered my foot in 2 different places. How often do you get to train with the founders of Krav Maga in Israel? So taped up my foot, continued to work with a torn ligament and a broken bone in my foot for 10 days of 12 hours a day of training. Got home, foot was purple and blue. 13 doctors told me I'd never walk again. They told me I was going to spend my life in a wheelchair.
Wow.
So I went back to my mental toughness, went back to my medical skills. And I said, nobody's going to tell me no.
That's right.
So I became a strength and conditioning specialist, the kind of people that train pro athletes. I became a yoga instructor. I went to 8 hours of physical therapy per day for 8 years straight. Even today, before I leave my house in the morning, I heat a room to 130 degrees. I do about 60 minutes of yoga in there, and then jump in a 159-degree sauna and do some joint mobility exercises, and then I can walk for the day. And what was I doing in between physical therapy appointments? I was coaching people to get hired because it's just something I've loved to do. So I'm in physical therapy. Yeah, Mitchell, you need to do this. You got it. Hey, yeah, Joey, I got you here. What you need to do for that? And I was just getting people hired and hired. And then I finally got healthy enough to be able to sit in a chair, started this company. I've gotten over 100 people 6-figure jobs in the last 12 months.
Wow.
For a cost of less than $1,000 for the average student. The range for the majority of them is between 120 and 275, with an average somewhere around like 130, 140 for training that costs less than $1,000 and less than a year. So I'm pretty proud and excited about that. And now we have a program specifically for veterans.
It's a
little different, but we made some differences for the veterans, since I know the veteran world. I know the tactical world.
Yeah.
I know the decisions we make are hard on us, but if we don't make these decisions, we die. We're put in situations that are highly stressful. We don't know if we're going to make it until tomorrow. Plus, we're carrying around a ruck, body armor, ammo. That gives us some arthritis. So I took our same program, which is working, and I added a complete and total leadership training program to teach people how to go from command and control, which is appropriate in emergencies or military context, to the 6 or 7 civilian leadership styles. I added some cognitive behavior therapy to help with PTSD, some yoga and meditation to help with that as well. And I'm truly impressed about it. And we're still doing it. And we're offering this course for about a single day's pay for the average graduate.
Wow. That's incredible. No, that's so cool. So what we've gone around the edges of Go Cloud Career, but what is it more fully?
We are a career optimization organization. We teach everything that's necessary. So I start everybody at ground zero from the beginning. And we have a methodology that's completely different. Our competitors teach certifications, which is the name of a service and how to configure that service.
Sure.
But for an architect whose designs, presents, and sells, it's completely irrelevant because we don't configure anything. But we take a different approach. See, about 20 years ago, I was lucky enough to have a manager, and he pulls me into his office and he tapped me on the side and he says, Mike, you're not like the rest of my people. And I went, am I getting fired or am I getting a raise here? I have no idea. And he pulls me aside and he says, do you know the difference between a $150,000 sales engineer like you and a $300,000 enterprise architect. And I was a young kid. I'm like, tell me. And he said, it has nothing to do with your tech skills. They're top notch. He said, it has everything to do with the impact you make on your customers. So it's your communication skills, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your business acumen, your CXO relevancy, your emotional intelligence, your executive writing. And he went on. You know what I've done in my training program? I've done two things. Taught exactly the technical skills somebody needs for the job and only those, and put a full executive training program in there. And I've done it for the following reason. When you have no experience, but you've got executive presence, communication skills, people forget that you have no experience.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And not only do they forget that you don't have any experience, no experience because you look good and you sound good, they need you on their team and they pay you more. And that's why I've been wildly successful, because when it comes to hiring somebody, what do employers care about? They don't just care about your competency. They care about the following things. 1, competency. 2, can they trust you? 3, are you safe? Meaning, do you know what you know and don't you don't know, so you don't make mistakes. 4, they want some energetic, enthusiastic, compassionate out the bark. 5 is they want someone that's emotionally intelligent. 6 is they want a team player. And 7 is they want someone that's willing to go above and beyond. They're not looking for, hey, tell me about the work-life balance. They want to know you're willing to stay on the fight until the job's done. So those are what employers want. So by doing this, our people get hired constantly.
No,
I don't believe anybody should leave the military without a 6-figure job waiting for them. And that's why we've taken our civilian program and adapted it for military folks as well.
No, I think that's a perfect fit probably for any field, but that's something that there's the stereotype that cyber professionals, network professionals are the nerdy people. I used to be in the intelligence community, and when we were at the CIA, we were the outgoing ones, and we would make jokes about the people at the NSA who they would look at, the extroverted ones would look at somebody else's shoe. But like having this program to build that executive presence, that's got to be far and away a differentiator for these graduates. It's
huge, and it's huge in 2 ways.
Yeah.
At the elite jobs, they don't want someone that's a tech. They want someone that's an executive that knows techie. They want someone that's got the emotional intelligence of an intelligence asset. Someone that can go, adapt, improvise, overcome, communicate, be a chameleon. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They don't want someone, hi, my name is Mike, I'm an expert on BGP. They want someone that's going to lively up the room. So half of what we need to do, especially when we deal with technology professionals for a long time, is to completely rebrand them.
Yep.
And for the elite careers, sometimes it's easier to get somebody from a psychology background than it is for an engineering background, because I've got them to unlearn all that and learn how to design present, which is a totally different skill set. So no matter what, we can all achieve anything we want.
Yeah.
We're willing to work hard enough.
And that was something, so when I was in a special operations unit, and I remember talking to one of the trainers and said, like, were you eager and excited when you're talking about how this entire class is not people from infantry, not people who shoot people for a living? He's because you have no bad habits. I can teach anybody how to shoot. I can teach anybody how to shoot really good. But if I have to unteach you the bad things in order to teach you the good, that takes me twice as long.
Absolutely.
And so I think what you're saying there with cross-career or mid-career transitions, we don't think about that. We think, nope, this is it. I've got my degree. This is all I'm good for. It seems like in many cases.
But it's not true.
Right.
Life is cumulative. Life is transferable. One day, for argument's sake, we just wanted to do it. We took a SWAT guy.
Yeah.
Knew a carbine and knew his pistol. And I said, you're going to shoot it 1,000 yards today. And he's like, how am I going to do this? So we gave him an SR-25, Mark 11, M110, whatever you want to call it. We doped the rifle for him and said, here's your breathing. Here's what you do. The same trigger control, the same fundamentals. And he had a first shot, hit it 1,000 yards. And I said, okay, here's the reason this was so easy. We knew that you had 42 minutes of angle of drop on here. We knew that we had a 45-degree win, which meant a 3/4 value win. We knew this. So your fundamentals were so good. Once we teach you how to run these calculations, see, it's going to be nothing. Now, a SWAT guy who's going to be a SWAT sniper is not going to get outside of the 100-yard range. Ever. Right. If you can do 1,000, you can do 100.
200, yeah.
So in his case, it was to just prove a point.
Sure.
Here's how you dope the rifle. Here's your variables. Now let's take you to 100 yards and make sure that your next 50 shots don't get past this postage stamp. Because if you do, it's not good enough.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to look at it, because at the end of the day, we're not stuck. for whatever we think. The only thing that ever stops us is us deciding we just don't want to.
That's the key. It's us. We are in our own way. Who gets through buds? Is it the Olympians? No, it's the people that just won't quit until they're there.
Yeah.
One day in Israel, I thought it was really hilarious training. I personally thought it was fun.
Yeah.
They decided to put us in a 120-degree room in Widener University and force us to leave our arms over our head for the entire day.
Yeah.
And there were two sets of people. There were one set of people that put them down inside of 15 minutes. There were the mentally strong people that didn't know how to breathe, that just collapsed face down into the ground. And there were those of us that made jokes. Hey, we're going to tell our kids about this.
Yep.
Oh, look what we're going to talk about when we drink tonight. We did this all day and it was fun for us. Now, the next day, it was hard to use our arms, but the point was, you know, as long as we kept in the mind, in the game, in terms of succeeding and winning, we won. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind.
Oh, yeah. No, my wife and I watched the series Alone. I don't know if you've seen that, where they drop people in the wilderness to survive.
I've seen a version of that, but I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And at the beginning of every season, we're like, okay, who's going to last? And there's the Navy SEAL. There's the person who's been ultra marathon runner, and they look good. They've got the right equipment. They know what they're doing. And then there's always that one or two of those people who are like, I just like being outside. It's when we're like, I don't know. And that's the attitude they have the whole time. They're like, this is a good time. They're the ones who make it, because they're not sitting there just gritting their teeth, thinking how bad it is, and I'm going to tough it out. It's incredible.
It really is. I had someone that I coached a few years ago. It was hilarious. I was doing my little yoga in the gym, and he's, I heard of you. You're that enterprise architect job guy that's done this and this, and I want you to train me.
Yeah. And
I looked at the kid. I knew he was a CrossFit kid. I said, okay, if you can do this. And I made him do 200 deadlifts with 225, a workout called the Murph, which was run a mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, another mile run. And then when I was done this, I made him do 200 squats with 225 on his back and bear crawl a half a mile. And I said, if you do this, and I'll train you. And he's gutting it out. He's gutting it out. And when he was in the bear crawl, I'm like, all right, well, enough's enough. He's now one of the most successful people I ever coached. He came from a background that was challenging. He was the most clumsy person in the world when I met him, but he had it here.
Yep.
He would never quit. And when I saw that, I would say, yes, I can train you.
Yep. No, it is. I have 2 kids, and I don't know how to teach that. And talking to you, talking to other people, that's something that after a certain point in your life, it seems like you've got it or you don't. You can't pick it up in your 30s. But what have you seen is like formative experiences for these people?
It's interesting. But the students I get are actually all typically mentally tough. And I know this sounds really strange. For whatever reason, I've been blessed. I have a tremendous number of immigrants.
Oh, okay.
I've got about 500 immigrants from Africa, a couple hundred immigrants from India, immigrants from South America, and also Americans too. It's great.
Sure.
Come to America from Africa. This is like winning an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah,
My students tell me stories of going to the consulate 10 times and having to prove this and this, kind of like when I got married and I tried to get people to come for my wedding in Greece. It was so hard to get to the United States from them legally. So by the time I got here, they were already tough. And I've got people that are working 3 jobs just trying to survive. And it's do this and this. And by the way, you'll get there. Poof, they get there. There's that side of it. Now, I get a lot of youth, and they've been pampered. They've got participation trophies. They get A's for turning in garbage work. And they come to me and they say, what do I do? And I say, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Everything that you thought you've had is not the reality. The reality is life's tough. Embrace it. It's not fair. So if you want to win, you got to outwork, outthink, outperform your everyone. So there's no participation trophies in life. It's war.
Yeah.
One person that gets hired for the job, one person that gets the promotion. So how do you prepare for your battle? Do you want to be the Olympic gold medalist that focuses 100% of your time, effort, and energy and money into one thing? Or do you want to be the hobbyist, the jack of all trades? The choice is yours, but which do you want to be? I can tell you where you'll be if you'll do this, and I can tell you where you'll be if you won't. And that works for some of them.
Yeah.
Now, I never thought of this before. My chief operating officer says, Mike, maybe we should put some testimonial videos out there. I said, why? We're going to get testimonials for me doing my job of teaching people a career? And he said, yeah. I said, okay. So We got an airplane pilot. Is he going to make a testimonial every time he lands the plane? Or a sniper, every time he takes out a bad guy, is he going to make a video testimonial? And this is where I listen to my COO, and he says, Mike, the students need it. They need to see the success. So we started making that, and that seems to be helping.
No, I definitely am somebody who doesn't have that instinct to record everything. It's very confusing for me when I see that happening all over the place. But you're right, there are groups of people who are like, I want to see what success happened. And that's convincing for them. And you were mentioning the immigrants who got here and were mentally tough. I suppose it's all putting things in perspective. If it's been exceptionally hard doing thing number one, thing number two is easy, it's easy to be mentally tough.
Yeah, and I think there's an expression, I'm not going to completely remember it, but tough times make strong people.
Yeah.
Times make weak people.
Yeah.
We've had some really good economic times for a long time until recently.
Yeah.
And people got participation trophies. Kids were getting cell phones. Everybody's got multiple color TVs, and you kind of movie they want. I've worked with people that earn $80 a month, and they're supporting their family on it.
Yeah.
Most of this world lives on less than $1,500 a year.
Yeah.
Many of the world lives on less than $1,500 a year. We get it pretty easy. Our poor are actually rich compared to the rest of the world.
Oh, for sure.
So even people on welfare are rich compared to most of the world. So the key is being able to understand that we can lift ourselves up. Everybody can do everything.
Yeah.
I like to say I have a lot of students that grew up really poor. They joined the military. That was their education.
Yep.
They got out of there mentally strong, capable, energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate. I got to hire these people. I had no choice.
Exactly. And yeah, you're right. Seeing the people that go through the military and come out the other side, they either get spit out and are broken and it just wasn't for them. But if not, they come out pretty incredible people.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the difference is the people that are coming from a more elite background actually come out better, even though they're in higher risk. It's not stress isn't a problem.
Yeah.
It's how we manage that stress. That's the issue. If you're trained like a SEAL or a Delta Force person or a MARSOC person, Raiders, whatever term they use each day, you're used to this. When somebody screams at you, you're like, okay. When it's hard, okay. I didn't realize it when I kept going to orthopedic surgeons about my foot, and they didn't really understand how bad it was. And the reason they didn't understand how bad it was is they're poking my foot. They're like, how does it feel? Is it painful? I'm like, it doesn't feel good. And they're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like, I don't think you understand. I was doing 700-pound deadlifts in high school. I've been shot with bullet ricochets, and they hurt 5 out of 10, even though I'm bleeding, because they're warm, and I don't even notice it for 10 minutes. I said, I've been punched in the face, the ribs, broken ribs. I said, it's all relative.
Right.
Now, when it got to the neuropathy part, that was something different. But the point was, it's sort of like they don't understand the world of a warrior or a martial artist, what hard is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was medically retired from the Army because I had such bad arthritis, like I couldn't put my clothes on, like mechanically my joints didn't move. And so I would go to the doctor and they're like, how bad does it hurt? And I'm like, I don't know, like a 4 or 5. And they do an x-ray or CAT scan. They're like, you have literally no cartilage. And the shoulder surgeon at a professional baseball team say, I've never seen an athlete this bad unless they were in their 80s. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't play sports.
And it's normal for you.
Right.
I have 2 torn rotator cuffs, labral tears in both hips, no cartilage in either knee, a foot that's got a ligament tear they can't do, 5 herniated discs, and reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And believe it or not, I have people that complain more than me that have a bow on their finger.
I believe that. I believe that with all my heart. Yeah. And the thing is, it probably actually is worse for them.
It is worse for them because in their mind, the perception is so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can tell the difference. I call my buddy, he was a sniper in the Army. Actually, he was a sniper in the Marine Corps. Then he became an airline captain. Then he decided to join the Army as a sniper because he didn't want to do Marine Corps PT when he was like 50 years old.
That's fair.
So he becomes a sniper in the Army. Then he retires from the Army. In his world, I get to his house. When he's complaining, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's got a reason for it when he's complaining. And I brought a friend to his house the other day, and he met my friend. And the kid had boo-boo on his finger and he was complaining about the boo-boo on his finger. And my buddy Chris says, Mike, where'd you get this character from? He's not like the normal one of you. I said, he's a very nice person. I brought him here to see other people to toughen him up. I said, please show him. He can do anything with me.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all they need is to see that got it pretty good.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great talking with you today, Michael. I know we're getting close to time here, but is there anything we missed talking about?
I think we really talked about some pretty cool things. The way I say, we talked about how toughness can get you through any obstacle along your way, as long as you keep fighting to do it. We did discuss how I went from paramedic to nurse practitioner to cloud architect, enterprise architect, to coaching people for the last 20 years. I think we had a really fun time of talking about attributes for success. I think we also had a good time talking about things from one career and how they can interplay for another career.
Yeah.
Because it's that. And we need everybody to know life is cumulative.
Yeah.
If you were the captain of a sports team, great. If you're a parent, there's some leadership skills involved. If you're a teacher, there's something involved in there.
Yeah.
If you're a warrior, wow, there's a lot that comes from there. If you come from any of the professional things, doctor, lawyer, accountant, it's the same job.
Yep.
Listen to the problem, examine the available evidence, make a diagnosis, and build the plan. And, you know, we didn't cover it, but I'm going to ask your perspective.
Yeah.
Because you're going to come from a better perspective. I approach the world in the following manner. I make my primary plan. I typically make up a backup plan and potentially a second backup plan. And then when all else fails, adapt, improvise, and overcome. You come from the world of planning. I know you do. How do you do it?
I do less planning than what you talked about. I'll make a plan with the knowledge that there is no way on earth it's going to work. But I try to think through what's going to go wrong. What's going to happen over here? What's going to happen over here? So when it actually does go wrong, it looks like I'm just riffing off things or adapting. A friend of mine once said, I'm the most well-prepared, unprepared person you'll ever meet, because I do actually think about these things. I just don't make formal plans because I know none of them are going to work.
Okay, fair point. It's the same, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy.
But at the same time, you not planning at all is not helpful. Yeah. So I think I'm probably too far one side. It works though.
But it's the training that you've been more adaptable in life from which I've had to do. My primary plan is what I want to happen.
Yep.
My backup plans are if this goes wrong and this goes wrong, these are pre-made. But even then, you know what? Still going to be adapted.
But I think the good part about either way is you're not emotionally invested in one thing. Your identity is not tied to that plan working. You're not going to cry yourself to sleep if it doesn't work, because you're going to have to change it. And I know if I meet somebody who says, you know, what you just said about how you plan, or says we're going to have to adapt, innovate, and overcome, like we can be friends.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to freak out if the restaurant we go to is closed.
I'm not going to freak out if it's closed. We're going to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's those of us, and I've seen it. I didn't realize that I was trying to hire somebody as a mental toughness coach.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. It was a Green Beret that I was actually talking to. We left my car. Something spooked me. I grabbed him and put him behind me and prepared for something. And out of nowhere, he grabbed me and sticks him behind me. And he said, Mike, there's danger here. I said, I know, that's why I put you behind me. Neither one of us even really thought about the danger other than we had to get in front of it and protect the other one. Because we both sensed it via different ways, via the different experiences we had.
Yeah.
Now, the next conversation he had to me is, here's the problem. I just saw the danger before anybody else would. And if I reacted, the civilians wouldn't understand. And I said, yes, I would have understand. And I would have been a witness to what was actually going to occur. But yeah, nobody else would see what you and I saw, which was this micro expression, this noise, this movement in this direction, because they're just stuck on their phones.
Yeah.
Actually, nice. I think my last thing that I'll say is you can't walk around in that condition white stage where you don't know what's going on. There's a Colonel Grossman that came down to the condition white, condition yellow, condition orange, condition red.
I think so.
And those of us that walk around just assuming nothing's going on condition, we are surprised and we hit that panic condition black where we freeze instead of fighting or flighting.
Yeah.
Those of us that walk around in that condition yellow, which you do and I do, see stuff, we're always paying attention. And then when we see a soccer ball rolling down the street, chances are there's a kid behind it, slow your car down.
Yep.
And that way, if it comes down to it, we go to red where we're ready to fight or act, as opposed to the condition black where we're panicked because we're watching. So I think that's all part of the plan, that they adapt, improvise, overcome, and pay attention. Be
Yeah.
situationally aware. There's always more going on than meets the eye.
Yep. There's, if you're sitting at your house on your couch, you're probably okay to be engrossed in your phone.
Just that, but you're on an interview, there's something going on. You're in a client meeting, there's something going on. There's always more than meets the eye.
Yep.
And if you're stuck in your phone, you're missing it all.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a good way to end it. Thank you so much for your time today, Michael.
Thank you, Tim. One thing, I think you're really interesting. I'd love you to be on my show if you have desire.
Glad to. Thank you so much. Look forward to finding a time.
Sounds great. So wonderful to see you.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care, Tim. Goodbye.